MJ Davis, Tim Williamson, Mike Dawson lead us down. We are green once again as we are now past the 1/4 distance mark. 52 laps on the board, and already Dan Lukaska at the top of the racetrack getting freight trained.
Yeah, I think those other drivers possibly listening to him on the radio as he is going back in a hurry. Absolutely no one coming up there to help him, Tony.
Nobody at all, strangely enough. The first guy back there is the 57 of Lure, and he is back at about the 10th spot. And here goes Dawson. Dawson at the bottom of the speedway, but Dan, he is by himself. Can he make that move stick?
No, but you see another guy coming up there to help him right now, and I think if they get 2 or 3 guys up there, they can possibly hold their position or make a run towards the front. But you know what? The OLRTV curse telling him how great he is and how good he's running, and now he's going to the back.
It seems that way, Dan, but hey, you got a little bit of sponsor time, you got a little bit of TV time. I'm sure all those people he talked about would, in fact, be happy. Is now right up front in the 31 machine. That is Guy Snyder leading this one, going up top. Right along with him, the 84 of MJ Davis. But here comes the 3 machine of Mike Dawson. He's got help from Williamson, Rod Lease, and Matt Durr down there on the bottom of the speedway as well. Dan restarting about the 11th spot, I believe. Already up to the 6th spot and knocking on the door of the top 5. Behind him as well, the 67 machine, Don Stevenson, and Lukaska back in 8th, being pushed by Jim Lure. That was a costly mistake off that restart, for Lukaska. But Dan, that top lane starting to make a little bit of headway now.
Oh, definitely. Starting to make a little headway, starting to come back. There's a lot of time left. And it's the first time we've seen the 41 car of Rod Lease up there today, Tony. He's making his move up towards the front. And you know how all those NASCAR guys are always talking about how they're tweeting with each other or whatever? I am Facebooking right now with our co-host, or our cohort, as you would say, Tim Terry, trying to get him over here, trying to get the private jet up there to fly down to Daytona.
You know, Dan, it's funny you talk about that. I was actually in talks today with our super late model car owner and crew chief, and working with the kid this year. He's got some pretty big sponsors on the table lined up for him, and we were talking to him. He said, hey, when diesel gets to like $5 a gallon, just so you guys don't have to drive, our one sponsor's got a jet, and they'll just fly you guys everywhere you need to go. And then we've got another little smaller, like a puddle hopper or whatever you want to call it, puddle jumper. We'll just fly you around between up here using that whenever diesel gets that expensive. You know, Dan, For once, I have never been so excited for gas to be sky high in my life.
Well, I'm definitely not excited. I'm sure these race car drivers aren't excited either, but you know, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. As now everyone double file once again, Tony. We saw it single file for a couple laps. Now double file once again as we have separated into, I believe it's about 3 packs out there on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, pretty much it is. That second pack fairly small in comparison to the lead pack. Then, as you said, Dan, yes, the third pack coming up. Well, I shouldn't say they're really coming up at all. They're just kind of lagging back, I guess, would be a more appropriate term. And some of those cars damaged in earlier incidents. Among them, let's see, Carver, Short, Smith, Blumdahl, all been back there for the most part. And a lot of them doing that by strategy, trying to stay out of the inevitable big one you always have here at some of the plate tracks. And Dan, these cars have noticeably gotten closer and closer together, particularly at the end of the back straightaway as the air begins to suck them together. They begin to slice, dice, snake up and down the racetrack. And sooner or later, Dan, that's going to eventually be in contact.
Right, and these drivers now, they don't have to worry about getting a black flag for bump drafting, and plus they got that new and edited Core I&I file in there that allows them to get a lot closer and push each other around the racetrack without making contact through warp or whatnot. So this will be absolutely amazing as we're coming down to start lap number 58, and look at everyone up on the high line now. The low line might be getting left into dry here in a little bit.
Very well made. It begins, looks like that high line's starting to kind of try to form up, at least, if you will. But at the moment, Tim Williamson is your leader. Rod Lease is in the second spot. Well, check that. Williamson now going to drift high and maybe open the door for Rod Lease to lead his first laps of the race. And Dan, right behind him on the back bumper, pushing him to the lead spot, no other than the 92 of Matt Durr.
And once again, Matt Durr started in the 31st spot, and he is up there. And now you're 3 wide, battling up in the front there, Tony. It's getting hot and heavy here. These drivers trying to make it exciting for us fans.
That they are. In the middle is Dawson. Looks like Matt Durr might end up there sooner or later. No, he will in fact get to the high line before he's able to be freight trained by Those on both sides of him as you ride on board with the number 3 machine of Dawson and Dan. Watch that car jump inside to outside between both lines of cars. And he is the only guy in the sucker hole right now. And strangely enough, doing a fantastic job of staying this far up in the pack, just being by himself.
That's right. You side drive from the left, side drive to the right, go straight up through the middle, and hopefully take the lead here. But as you see him now starting to fall back just a tick. No one really wants to get in there right now, but he's there, and he's having a ball on that number 3 car. Earnhardt out of turn number 4.
3 for Dale, Dan. 3 for Dale. 3 for Dale.
He's making it work.
That he is, and now you see Matt Durr. He now going to get stuck in the sucker hole as well, as Williamson's going to try to split him and go around the outside, round the outside, round the outside, and can't get it done.
Oh, Tony, don't quit your day job here. As you're watching out of the rear bumper of the number 3 car, he has some help possibly behind him now.
Very well might have a little bit of help there, Dan. And even up top, look at the 67 of Stevenson. He, your current leader, where did he come from? Last we knew, he was nowhere as caution. Caution on the speedway, Dan. 3rd caution of the evening. Didn't quite see what the cause of the yellow was. Looks like possibly debris on the speedway from another car, but yellow flag on the racetrack once again.
And we're going to queue up the replay and try to find out exactly what happened. But unlike NASCAR, we will show you our debris. We will show you our debris, and even if we can't find it, we will, and it seems like Lukaska dropped out? What's going on here, Tony?
Yeah, I think Lukaska may have had some sort of electrical issue. I don't know if that maybe caused the caution or not, but nonetheless, he in fact did have an electrical issue. He is back with us now, but I believe that may result in him losing 1 or 2 laps as that car parked in the pit lane at the moment, Dan, here near the exit of the Tri-Oval. So Lukaska now being shown as out of the event. Jeremy Lukaska, official cause of retirement is the accident. So it appears Jeremy Lukaska, Dan, may have been the cause of this caution. And in fact, it was. Matt, I'll let you cue up the replay. The 916 machine of Lukaska just sort of vanished. Whatever case, I guess that Core INI file worked for him, and then he shows back up, upside down, on his lid in turn number 4.
It was a tough break, Tony, for him, but we'll see exactly how that works out as they come around. But I believe we're going to get ready to go to a break, aren't we?
We will here in just a minute or two as pit stop's going to be coming down. Dan Stevenson and everybody else, Dawson Snyder, Davis Lohr, all coming to the attention of their crews. Down on the pit lane, Walton is in, Lease is in, Strip Matter in as well, Durr is in. Once again, topping off the tanks, and it looks like, Dan, order today, once again, going to be fuel and possibly a couple of tires, depending on where you're running.
Yeah, watching the 67 Stevenson now. Fuel and a couple of tires. That's all it's going to be here, Tony. Just right side tires, and he's going to be down and away.
Down and away, it looks like Lohr might, in fact, maybe beat him out of the pit lane. We'll find out. But Stevenson, not the stop that he wanted. As here comes number 92 of Matt Durr out in second. And we will recap the order for you once we come back from break here in just a matter of moments. We are 61 laps in for the Open Speedway 500 here at the Daytona International Speedway live on OLR TV. We will be back in just a minute.
He's going to get freight train one way or another unless he makes that thing as wide as a double-wide mobile home. Marlowe's making a move up in the middle. 3 wide, you're in the middle. Okay, Sam, one more time. Right flag, you're the man.
What do you have your hands on? That's right, I'm talking to you. Look down. What do you have your hands on? No, not that. I'm talking about your steering wheel. Are you using the only steering wheel used and endorsed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Sierra testing team, and of course, the OnlineRacing.com staff? Well, if you didn't get it from Thomas, you're not using the wheel. Thomas Enterprises, the absolute best racing wheels on the market. If you're not using a Thomas, you're not in control. Tired of playing games? You want to live competition? Well, the all-new OnlineRacing.com brings you the absolute best of sim racing. Everybody knows we have the fastest and most stable dedicated servers. But did you know that now we have the easiest software to set up your own races, chat with your buddies? Oh yeah, and remember that Java and that pesky redirector? They're gone, baby. No more of that. We still have our popular games like NASCAR 3, NASCAR Heat, NASCAR 4, NASCAR 2002, and of course, NASCAR Racing 2003. But why are we different? Well, maybe it's the car file showroom, or the setup exchange, or is it the voice chat? Heck, the list goes on and... oh yeah. I'm talking about the absolute best sim racers on the planet to race against. Sure, you can sit at home and race against the computer, but what fun is that? Prove you're the best, race against the best at OnlineRacing.com. But that's just a glimpse of what you'll find on OLR. Come on over and find out why we say OnlineRacing.com. Don't dream it, live it.
Welcome back live to the Openspeedway.net 500 miles here. It's the 500th and the 6th annual here at Daytona International Speedway. I want to talk about some leagues that we have going on here, just in case you guys are interested. Racing 6 nights a week. A couple nights have double headers here. 9 different leagues. Sunday Night Cup and Sunday Night Mutts League. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what the Mutts League is, but it sounds fun, so go check it out at Openspeedway.net. Monday, the Nationwide Series runs around, and they also have the Indy Racing League running around too as well, so check those out. Doubleheader on Monday and Sunday. Tuesday Night Trucks, that's always a fun league. Matt Durr dominated the last race there at Phoenix, closing to within 57 points behind Justin Malio. And they're heading to Las Vegas this week as well. Way Back Wednesday, check them out as well. I believe that's the Aero 88 mod. Check them out if you like the old style cars. TNT Cup on Thursday, and Tom Sylvain had a crazy win in Dover last week, so check that out. Also Friday night, the Nationwide Series again. Matt Vassar, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. He's been around since forever, and he took the win at Martinsville. And the Saturday night Super Speedway Series, if you like Super Speedway Series, check him out. Openspeedway.net/leagues. Check them out 6 nights a week, some nights even double headers. Tony, it's all fun.
Certainly is, Dan, until, of course, you're running for the lead and you get crashed a few laps to go. Not saying that's happened there, but it's happened to everybody if you've been in this business long enough. And then it's not fun. Then you realize, it's still fun. It's just a pain, but it's still fun nonetheless. As the lights are out on top of the pace car, we are getting ready to go back to green, Dan, in about half a lap or so. And strangely enough, it seems like the cautions have come a little bit quicker now that we're allowing the bump drafting and contact majority of the way around this racetrack.
Well, and you got to remember that last caution that came out, that was just that was like nothing. It was just basically disappeared and whatever. So I don't think the bump drafting has really come into play yet as far as causing any wrecks. And to be honest with you, I don't think they will. Maybe coming down to the end of the race. Remember the guy we talked to earlier said he was going to go through the grass, maybe go on the apron, climb the wall, climb the fence, Tony Stewart style, to win this race. Yeah, and he's already out. So you know what, Tony? You know what? Maybe we just better stop talking to people. I don't know.
You know what, though? Hey, he made it exciting. He ended up on his roof. We couldn't see it. I mean, but, the good news is, I guess, that nobody else got involved in his accident. But nonetheless, whatever. Pace car is off, and Justin Melillo is not going to lead us down, but he will be on the 3rd spot. That damaged Jegs machine as Hewitt and Sisk going to lead us down to the green flag. Green flag is out, and Dan, this will give us an opportunity to see just what a damaged race car can do on the bottom of the speedway, as Justin Melillo is going to drop like a lead sinker in a fish pond.
Yeah, and no one's going to work with him, not because they don't like him, but he's got a damaged car. You can't go to the front like that, as they're now 3 wide trying to get around him. He is dropping and dropping fast, Tony, as we're working lap number 65 here, and we're getting down to about halfway. These drivers trying to make the move up towards the front.
Yeah, we're already past 1/3 distance, or nearly to 1/3 distance, Dan, as we are looking nearly 3 wide for the lead. Here goes Snyder, the Menards Chevrolet to the bottom of the speedway. He's got help from Matt Durr. Davis in the 84 is there as well. Looks like Snyder, we talked about him earlier, he may in fact have a horse to ride to the front of this one. He will slide up in front of Hewitt in the 130 machine. And, there goes the 112 machine, blinking himself in and out. Looks like apparently that core I file must have saved Tim Walton. And I think, Dan, maybe what happens is those cars begin to show any sign of connection issue, and the core file just blinks them out to prevent anybody from possibly hitting them.
Not exactly sure 100% what that's for, but it works. And look at these guys. They're all over the place, and the yellow flag is out right now, Tony. What exactly happened? I don't see anyone, reckon. 0-8.
Kent Conley over in turn number 1. Dan, I shouldn't say by himself, but he got a little help from the 18 machine. Went for a long, slow, lazy spin, and then ended up backing it into the concrete retaining wall in turn number 1. So Kent Conley looks like he may not be in too bad a shape, but nonetheless, he'll bring out the caution once again, Dan. I'm not quite sure what they were doing way back there towards the tail of the field. Matt, show us exactly what we're talking about.
Well, I don't know if I can show you what you're talking about, Tony, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. And he gets down into the corner. I see a couple cars warping up ahead. Not sure if there's a server incident, but the 18 gets into the back of the 088, and Kyle Short gets into him, and Ken Young gets by. The 12 gets by, but Kent Conley gets around and just taps the wall a little bit. Not too much damage, so he should be able to come in and get the crew in there, get the hammers out, and bang it around, and should be back right up in the draft with everybody.
Certainly should be here at some point, as we are under caution once again in this one. Guy Snyder being shown as your leader, and I think that maybe flying in now fresh to the Daytona International Airport off the back straightaway is our friend Tim Terry. And Tim, when Dan says he's sending a charter jet, he does not lie.
Yeah, he sent a jet all the way over from Francorchamps, Belgium, all the way over here to Daytona International Speedway. And I tell you what, a great view that we have here now at the Daytona International Speedway, and just great racing all around.
Now, Tim, tell us about the plane ride. I've never been on one of those Concorde jets before, but apparently they make pretty good time to be from Europe to here in a matter of minutes.
You know, I don't know what Dan put in the fuel or what he has on that jet, but I tell you what, it flies really, really fast.
And your leader, speaking of being fastest guy in Daytona right now, is coming down to pit lane by himself. Dan Lyon, what is the talk right now on the Guy Snyder pit? I know you've been keeping track of what's going on in that Menards machine, but looks like they might be having some issues.
Well, he didn't want to pit, but his crew said he should because they're working towards the backwards pit, like we were talking earlier. They're setting him up for the final race here, and usually you would do it and working it back. You would do it with someone else, but you know he's down there by himself, Tony. So they're going to take right sides now and put fuel in it, and we see a couple guys now coming in behind him. So maybe it'll work out for him. Not 100% sure.
We'll find out, Dan. Certainly that car has been very, very good. And we have seen, if one thing is for sure, Guy Snyder can drive through the pack, under the pack, around the pack. Whatever it is, that Menards machine has got something under the hood and under the suspension, Dan, to make it go and seemingly go faster than anybody else. And as we have a couple of minutes here, we're going to remind you that you can, in fact, pick up a copy of tonight's race on OLR TV DVD. Only about $12 plus a couple of bucks shipping and handling. This is not a video CD. This is not an MP3 file or an MP4 file, I guess, on disc. This is an actual DVD you can pop in your DVD or your Blu-ray player. Watch it full screen on the big screen and relive all the moments of the past here on OLR TV. Same things are available as well for WRN, our sister network. You can check those out at webracingnetwork.com. Same type of deal, only $12 plus a couple of dollars shipping and handling. Now, I know, Dan, you've got a few of those things hanging around. I've got a few as well, and we've taken them to trade shows, we've taken them to meetings, and people are just outright amazed at what sim racing actually is anymore.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sim racing is taking a step up in the past couple of years, you know, thanks to the guys at iRacing and the NASCAR Sanction Series and everything they're doing over there. But you know what? No matter what you're racing, no matter what mod, what sim you're racing, it's always competitive. It's always good. It's been like this since the days of NASCAR 2 on the 10 network, the Total Entertainment Network. I remember that. And I remember the high phone bills, you know. We do what we got to do because, you know, either we're disabled and we can't race real cars, or we don't have the money to race real cars or whatnot. Or even if we do race real cars, we come on here and race again because, you know, you can beat and bang and run around. And if you wreck your car, shift R and it's repaired. You don't have to go back to the garage, as you know so well, Tony, and repair your go-kart.
You know, surprisingly, all I have to do after the last race, I gotta splice the front end together a little bit. I did more damage putting it back on the truck than I did on the racetrack, so I was proud of myself the last race for that one. Even won the LCQ out of that deal, so that was kind of a cool deal. But got some work to do. I want to move some weight around and get the driver a little more comfortable in it, so he can actually make the entire race over at the Field Filler Fairgrounds in Concord, North Carolina. But yes, you're exactly right, Dan. And we were talking about crew chiefs and car owners earlier. The guy I work with is used to work at Gibbs, the chassis engineer. Crew chiefs, worked with Joey Logano and a number of others. And very, very big fan of the iRacing and the other sims out there because of the fact that it gives you an idea as to what you're looking at. Even if it's not an exact replication, it gives you an idea before you go somewhere and gets you closer to what you were beforehand. So certainly a lot of guys using it even in the real world to try to get themselves more familiar and get as much advantage as they possibly can. Caught up with our leader, the number 130 machine. He is being shown as your leader, Ed Hewitt. And Ed, the last guy we talked to up front, ended up warping out and on his lid in turn 4. That's not going to happen to you, is it?
No, sir.
So I take that as a no. So what have you got under the hood, Ed? We haven't talked to you a whole lot. We haven't even hardly said your name, and now here you are leading the Openspeedway 500.
Well, it's got a whole lot of horsepower on this Chevy, Budweiser. We come back from the back. I mean, we're just taking our time. We'll probably be at the end. We'll do our pit. If I go in the back, I'll work myself back up to the front, and I hope we're at the end. I hope we'll be there at the end.
That's all you can do is put yourself in that position to win. Lights are out on the pace car in front of you, and Ed, I know that everybody dreams of a little bit of TV time here on OLR TV, and you, my friend, have earned some by being up front at the right time. So I'm sure there's some sponsors, family, people that help you out that you'd like to give a shout out to here on national TV on OLR.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to give out there for my family and my daughter and my son-in-law there and the 2 babies there. And like I said, man, I appreciate all you guys do over here, and I'm enjoying the racing.
Well, best of luck to you, Ed. Hopefully we'll see you and talk to you at the end of lap 200 here this evening.
Thank you very much.
That is Ed Hewitt. And Tim Terry, I think maybe you've kind of got things squared away over here. You've got your seat all together. You've got your food in front of you. You've got everything sitting there, including the girls waving palm leaves at you. And I don't know why they're waving them at you and not me, but nonetheless, you've got all that situated. So give us your take on things so far here as we approach the halfway mark of the Openspeedway 500.
I think we're going to see some great racing in the second half of this race. Of course, we got to get there first. We'll have 30 laps to that halfway mark when we go green flag racing. But a lot of familiar names up in the front of this field, and still 30 cars in contention for this one. Going to be fun.
Certainly will, as Ed Hewitt is going to be your leader coming down towards the green flag. The 342 machine of Eric Sisk currently running in the second spot. Then it's Tim Walton, Matt Durr, Jim Lohr, Mike Lawson in 6th, Hardcastle 7th, Strip Matter in 8th, Brad Adams in 9th, and MJ Davis in the 10th spot. As the pace car pulls off the racetrack, once again we are going racing, Dan Lyon, and it seems like ever since lap 50, the cautions have been coming about every 8 laps.
Well, let's hope they don't happen now, Tony. Whoa. Everyone jumping around out there, Tony, on the front stretch here as we come to take the green flag.
Yeah, Durr certainly went to the bottom, and man, he caught every advantage he could in that restart. Picks up 1 spot. Looks like he may even pick up 2 spots. He's got Jim Lohr pushing him, trying to get by Eric Sisk. And Tim, that was a pretty risky move for only being 70 laps into a 200-lap race.
It shows that these guys aren't wasting any time to get to the front of this field, Tony. One small mistake out of those guys, and you see Matt Durr go underneath them for position. And it seemed like those top three really got a slow start. Matt Durr anticipating the start, and now he's up to second.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you see them now side by side. The bottom line's starting to form now, Tony. Definitely starting to form with the two guys up on the outside. No help, but I bet you in a couple of laps they're going to be able to get back up there.
Yeah, it seems like we've had a few laps to get everything running, and then the top line begins to form as Durr slides up the racetrack, nearly gets into Ed Hewitt as he tries to overtake him from the top spot, Tim. He has got help still, though, from Jim Lohr and the number 3 machine of Mike Dawson, all pushing that number 92 Harley-Davidson machine towards the front. And Durr, I think, is the first car we've seen leading, not stuck to the yellow line, Tim.
Yeah, definitely still on that low line, though, Tony, as these guys work around Daytona corner number 4. The high side hasn't come into play at this point. There's guys up there trying it, and it looks like a couple of these guys up front maybe trying to push up there to the high side, but nevertheless, the inside line seems to be the place to be right now, unless you're about 4 or 5 cars, about 5th on back.
And Dan, for that matter, here you are, lap 73. You see Durr now being passed by Mike Dawson for the lead off of turn number 2. What are you doing at this moment in the race? You've had a few pit stops, things have cycled around, and you're getting to the point you're coming up on halfway. What are you trying to do? What's going through your mind at this juncture of the race?
As a race car driver, you want to go to the front and you want to be up there. As a crew chief or a spotter or anybody, you want them to just lie back and wait till the end of the race comes around and then make the move. But you know what? What I would do, I would go up there 3 wide. I don't care if anyone helps me. Go 3 wide around the top. And then if no one helps me, get back. Come out 3 wide, do again. And you see the 92 working the outside right now. So, Tony, I want to be in the front because that's the safest place to be.
Certainly is. And strangely enough, most of the crashes have been back in the pack trying to avoid the big one. Nothing really huge yet, luckily, but we have had some near misses, to say the least, as here comes Hardcastle in that number 10 machine. Tim, before you got here from Europe, he, in fact, was in an incident on pit road, and he sat on the outside pole, but here he is leading at Daytona as we work in the turn number 3, using the draft to his advantages behind him. They are 3 wide, 3 rows deep.
And Matt Durr is that driver on the extreme high side, and they are making it work 3 wide, 3 rows deep right now, about 8th place. And that hole might close up on Matt Durr on that high side. Now they're stacked 2 deep, 3 wide, and that extreme high side going to the back. Maybe it'd be wise if these guys tagged onto the second groove down low. They're not going to do it, though. They want to race on lap 75.
Apparently they do, and there's Ed Hewitt, that 130 machine. We talked to him. He was our leader just a few short laps ago. And Dan, why in the world are guys trying to go up through the middle in such a risky position at this point? Are they doing just as you suggested, trying to figure out what their car has, maybe trying to set things up for later in the race?
They're trying to see where their car works and where the car doesn't work, Tony. And if they go up through the middle and it makes it work, they know they can go back there again. If it gets too anxious and they bounce around a little bit, maybe they won't go back up there. So they're trying to set it up as we're 3 wide right now.
Once again, through the tri-oval, the narrowest part of the speedway. There's the 112 machine of Walton there. The number 3 of Dawson, the 67 of Stevenson. All right there. Matt Durr is stuck up there with it as well. Holy cow. Somehow, Tim, we've survived a couple of 3 wide instances here in the early going.
And it looked like that 112 almost took the apron in corner number 3. That's one thing you don't want to do here at Daytona, because it's going to cause a whole lot of calamity behind you, and you're probably going to be done for the day if you do hook that apron. But Tim Walton going to have to watch that, and that number 112, as they've got back to side-by-side racing. The 3 wide for now has subsided, but I'm sure once these guys get nearer the front, we'll probably see some more 3 wide racing.
Oh, I definitely think so, Tim. And this is a little different than that road racing that you were doing. These guys actually leaning off each other side by side, 3 wide, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows deep. And there are no rumble strips. The only rumble strips here is the guy in front of you.
For that matter, Dan, even if it's a 7-mile racetrack, when you're in a restrictor plate race, usually you're all on top of each other. You have enough time in a restrictor plate race on an 8-mile racetrack to have a picnic in the middle of the racetrack and get off the racetrack before the field comes back by, right, Tim?
That would be right, but speaking about picnic, Hardcastle's going to the back of the field, and I don't know what kind of picnic he's going to have back there, but he lost the lead, and he lost the top 5, and he's about to lose the top 10 as he's the lonely car on the extreme high side, and they're going to go 2 by 2 underneath him. So I don't know what Hardcastle's strategy is, but I guess he's going to have to work from the back.
Yeah, he almost hit the outside wall when he made that move to the outside, Tim. It looks like he's got some drafting help right now and possibly be able to make his move back up towards the front, Tony. He definitely, in that Nissan car, one of two Nissan cars out there, was definitely one of the fastest cars on the track. So we'll see if he can make his move back up towards the front.
Certainly was, Dan. Another car to keep an eye on. He was our leader before that caution flag. He's back at about the 8th spot. The 31 machine of Guy Snyder has worked his way back into the top 10. That black and green Menards machine, he is back in the thick of things. He is the last car on that first part of the high side, peeking out behind the Jim Lore machine. That is Snyder. And Tim, says something about your machine and about your driver when you're able to work your way up from about the 30th spot into the top 10 in less than 10 laps.
You definitely have a good car, and you definitely know how to work the draft. As we're getting 3 wide back here, as Brad Adams last time by was scored as your leader. We got one driver here stuck in the sucker hole. I believe that might be Williamson in the 283, going backwards, going the wrong way at this point. He might be able to find a line on the inside. Indeed, he does. But boy, oh boy, that was a close call for the 283.
Certainly was, Tim, and I know that we've made these comments. I think some of the viewers in our speed chat have made the comments as well, that a lot of drivers taking a lot of risks, a lot of major risks for being this early in a 500-mile race. We're barely getting towards mile number 200, still 300 miles to go. You got guys going 3 wide, 4 wide, and now we're trying to go by a lap car on the inside of the racetrack down the apron.
Yeah, 3 wide early in this race would be one thing that I would not want to do. Of course, these guys at Openspeedway are veterans. They know how to do it, and they know how to do it walking that tightrope, walking the fine line. But right now, as these guys are 20 laps away from the halfway mark, they're getting busy, and they're getting busy in a hurry. Of course, you want your car with all 4 corners on it. Yellow flag is out. Just going to finish that up, Tony. You want all 4 corners on your race car. You don't want to be sitting in the infield with a broken down car, as it looks like it might be a debris caution out here, as I don't see any cars sitting down in the infield or any cars smoking.
Yeah, hard to say. Maybe, well, really, I don't know what the case is. I know Lukaska has come back on the racetrack, or at least attempted to. I don't think that was the cause of the caution. But once again, maybe we'll figure out what the deal is. But right now, it's a mystery caution here in the Openspeedway 500 once again, Tim.
So it looks like Ed Hewitt will move back to the lead position. I don't see a lot of these cars look pretty good right now. Justin Malilo back there, I believe it is, number 12, is 1 lap down with a bunch of damage on the rear end. Everybody else looks pretty good. We have 29 cars currently being scored on that lead lap and in contention. And as we've seen with Guy Snyder, and as we've seen with Tim Williamson and Hardcastle, you can be up in front of this field and go to the back. Or in the case of Guy Snyder, you can be at the back of the field and go straight back to the front.
Certainly can, Tim, and that, hey, that's the nature of Daytona for you, for that matter. Is right when we got the caution, we did complete the 200-mile mark of this one, and again, not quite sure what's up with all the cautions, but strangely enough, we've worked our way to this point, Tim, and very, very few cars out of the race.
And with those cautions, that's really a saving grace for some of these guys. You'd anticipate the big rack to take out 10, 12 cars already, seeing the number of cautions that we've had. But it hasn't happened yet, as we look for some guys to possibly come down pit road. Ed Hewitt possibly coming down, and I believe if he comes down, the rest of the field is going to follow him, and it looks like that's the case.
Certainly will. At least going to get fuel, and most likely at least 2 tires. We'll probably see a couple of fuel-only stops, and that will shuffle the running order. Once again, you see Hewitt pull off. You see Dawson pull off on the number 3 machine. Everybody else down to the attention of their crew. Snyder is in once again. Remember, he was in the last caution flag. He now running inside the top 10. Jim Lore to the attention of his crew. Everybody else is Snyder down and away. He's going to beat, it looks like, nearly everybody off of pit lane. So Snyder, with that stop on the last caution flag, Tim, may in fact be in the catbird seat as your leader once we go back to green flag racing.
Yeah, it looks like Ed Hewitt only took 2 tires. Everybody else in front of them ended up winning the race off pit road. So a slow pit stop for that former leader.
Certainly, but again, with the plethora of strategies we have going on, you got to stick to it. Otherwise, you may find yourself somewhere you don't want to be. Guy Snyder wins the race off the pit road. We will reset the running order for you and go over some more notes here as we approach halfway at Daytona in the Openspeedway.net 500.
He's going to get freight train one way or another and must be linked up in his wide as a double-wide mobile home. Marlowe's making a move up to the middle. 3 wide, you're in the middle. Hey, man, one more time. White flag, you're the man.
What do you have your hands on? That's right, I'm talking to you. Look down. What do you have your hands on? No, not that. I'm talking about your steering wheel. Are you using the only steering wheel used and endorsed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Sierra testing team, and, of course, the OnlineRacing.com staff? Well, if you didn't get it from Thomas, you're not using the wheel. Thomas Enterprises, the absolute best racing wheels on the market. If you're not using a Thomas, you're not in control. Tired of playing games? You want to live competition? Well, the all-new OnlineRacing.com brings you the absolute best of sim racing. Everybody knows we have the fastest and most stable dedicated servers. But did you know that now we have the easiest software to set up your own races, chat with your buddies? Oh yeah, and remember that Java and that pesky redirector? They're gone, baby. No more of that. We still have our popular games like NASCAR 3, NASCAR Heat, NASCAR 4, NASCAR 2002, and of course, NASCAR Racing 2003. But why are we different? Well, maybe it's the car file showroom, or the setup exchange, or is it the voice chat? Heck, the list goes on and... oh yeah. I'm talking about the absolute best sim racers on the planet to race against. Sure, you can sit at home and race against the computer, but what fun is that? Prove you're the best, race against the best at OnlineRacing.com. But that's just a glimpse of what you'll find on OLR. Come on over and find out why we say OnlineRacing.com. Don't dream it, live it.
Welcome back to the Daytona International Speedway, still under caution here at the Openspeedway.net 506th annual event here on the high banks of Daytona. Right now, your current leader is the 79 machine of Becker, but he has indicated he will be coming to pit road this time, and that will give Guy Snyder the lead. He will inherit once again. He has been up front multiple times here so far this race, and we have got a hold of, guess who? Your current leader, or will be current leader, Guy Snyder in the number 31 machine. And Guy, holy cow, you pitted the last caution. You were back to like 30-something, and within 10 laps, there you are knocking on the door inside the top 10. Well, check that. I guess we'll get the the communication established to Guy Snyder, and I think now if we click the radio over to the right channel, that would actually help. And Guy Snyder, last caution as the lights around the pace car. We saw you drop back because of a pit stop to like 30-something. Next thing we know, here you are inside the top 10, less than 10 laps later, challenging for the lead.
Yeah, 10-4, the 67, Stevenson's man, before that went green there, I brought him on the radio and I said, let's go to the front, and he followed me all the way through there, and we got up there pretty quick, so if that's any indication of what the end of the race will look like.
How good is your car? I mean, we've seen you shuffle up, back, sideways, upside down, and it seems like you always end up back up front.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, as long as you can keep the fenders on it. I like that third line up on the outside. You can really get moving, but it's kind of difficult with some people in the middle that move around, so.
I know exactly what you mean. We're entering turn 3 here on this final pace lap. Before we let you go, Guy, I'm sure you got a lot of people you want to give a shout out to here when you've got a couple of minutes on OLR TV for you, your fans, and your sponsors.
Well, I just got to thank Jarrett Folds, my crew chief. He's my cousin. And pretty much all my friends and family. Matt Curry, he's a good friend of mine in racing. And just Tom Sylvans. He's in this race, and he's pretty cool. And I just hope we win the race.
Well, best of luck to you. That's Guy Snyder, your current leader, the Menards Chevrolet car number 31 up front right now ahead of Mike Dawson, Jim Lohr, Ed Hewitt, Steve Stripmatter, Rod Lease, Tim Walton, Joe Gibson, Tim Sylvain, and Don Stevenson, your current top 10. Matt Durr, MJ Davis, Chad Goodstein, Jeff Stoddard, Tim Williamson, Brad Adams, Rick Speed, Burns, Sis Conley round out the top 20 as we are under green once again. And Tim Terry, Dawson looked like he may have got the restart, but Jim Lohr stuck with Snyder, and now he's pushing him back out front into turn number 1.
Yeah, the 3 pretty much pushing that 31 across the line. He went down low. The 57 stuck up high with your leader, and now it's 2 by 2. Ed Hewitt to the mix, and we are racing for the lead as we get up through the gears down the back straightaway.
Still getting up to speed and much sooner than we've seen in any previous run, Tim. It looks like now, because of that move Dawson tried to put on Snyder, both the top and the bottom lines beginning to form up already. We've got 5 or 6 cars in each, and again, multiple packs behind them because of the single file restarts. As here comes the 41 of Rod Lease. We haven't talked a lot about him. We did a few laps ago, very briefly, but here he is once again in his Harley-Davidson machine. He now crossing the line, that time by in third, has a phenomenal run bomb the racetrack.
Indeed, he does, Tony, looking for position number 3. He's got that, and now we'll see possibly maybe pop up to the high line and see what he has for your 2 leaders, Dawson and Hewitt. These guys, it seems like if they go to the high line, they go to the back of the field. Lease now looking underneath for the lead, trying to see if he can fit that car down there in that hole.
Keeps looking and keeps thinking, maybe I've got the square peg, maybe I've got the round peg. It's a round hole. Do I try to stick it in there? Who knows whether it's going to go or not, but I'm thinking about sticking it in. I'm thinking about sticking it in. Then he pulls it out at just the right moment. The number 41 machine, of course, of Rod Lease, trying to get it where it can be up front.
So as these guys go into corner number 1, Tony, the 41 of Rod Lease runs in position number 3, and I saw those guys behind him. I believe that might be Tim Walton back there, that 112, once again flirting with that yellow line. You don't want to get down there, especially this early in the race. Ride a little bit, but he doesn't want to ride that apron.
Yeah, Rod certainly doesn't want to ride that line by any means down the bottom. For that matter, nobody else really does either, regardless of who they may try to follow down there. As you see your top 2 begin to try to single themselves out from the rest of this pack, I don't think it's going to happen, being as how the draft is so powerful with these machines here at Daytona with the older surface. Dawson, though, still your leader from Hewitt, but here goes Rod. Rod sticking it in. He gets it sideways, sliding around. But it looks like that he is able to gather it back in. Everybody else behind him keeps from packing up under the rear bumper, Tim.
And it looks like those top 2 of the last couple of laps were trying to play both lines, Tony. You can't really do that at this point, especially on lap number 88 at 200. You still got a long way to go.
Yeah, you certainly can't play for both teams when you're in the middle of the battle. Is Rod Lee still down on the bottom of the speedway underneath Guy Snyder, Jim Lohr up there as well, as caution on the racetrack once again.
I see the 388 of Brad Cox slow in corner number 3. That might be the issue. I believe he has a clutch problem, and that would indicate that thing went up in smoke, and indeed it did down the back straightaway. So the 388 will be calling it a night, and probably not by choice.
And he was involved in an earlier accident, possibly did some damage to that machine during that accident, and it looks like that has finally come back to bite him in the rear, if you will. So call the 388 of Brad Cox out of this one. Once again, caution on the speedway, Tim. Pretty caution-plagued race for having hardly any cars out of the event.
And the attrition rate is not there either. We have a couple of cars in the garage area, but there isn't a whole lot of attrition piling up in the paddock area. Matt Racing Kid Thomas, show us what happened to that 388.
Yeah, we're going to watch him here as he's got a good run catching his pack up ahead, and then all of a sudden he's going to run into some issues as he comes into the corner. We're riding in-car with him, and you should see a little wisp of smoke. You see them shifting gears, and you can see the smoke coming out of the machine, and tries to get it low, keep the track clean, but the officials are waving the yellow flag, and Brad Cox, he's going to drop out fittingly. The 388 drops out on lap 88.
A tough break for Cox, as apparently he wasn't able to hold it together, and it exploded a little prematurely here at the Daytona International Speedway. Tough break for him, as he will end up in the garage in this one. Out front, once again, is the number 3 machine of Dawson, is coming down the pit lane. A couple of our leaders, Jim Lohr, Matt Durr, the 67 of Stevenson, Tim Terry, they are all coming down to the attention of their crews.
Taking the opportunity now to get fuel in their race cars and top up the tanks. Jim Lohr going to hit his pit box. Wants to hit it cleanly. Oh, he does, and he has to back up to get service on the race car, and he is going to take 2 tires. He's going to lose a bunch of time here.
Certainly will. The good news is it is, in fact, under caution, as pit stops continuing for some of the cars further back in the field. And now's a matter, Tim, we're almost to halfway. We've heard Dan Lyons' commentary, as Dan had to step out for just a little bit as we try to get some time killed here under this caution. Tim, tell me what you would be doing at this point in the race. We're almost to halfway. You've got nearly 250 miles down out of 500. What's going through your head at this point? What were you have wanted to try, or what do you still have to try? What's going on in the Tim Terry mobile up there up top?
Right now, if it was me in the race car, I'd be riding out either in the back of the field or trying to ride out in the front of the field. I don't want to be in the hornet's nest right now, especially with this many cars still on the racetrack. We have 29 cars on this racetrack. I don't want to be in the middle. I want to be somewhere either in the back or the front, trying to avoid this and ride for now.
Well, one guy that's riding in probably the best place, if you can't be at the back, Tim, will be up front. That's Mike Dawson. And Mike, one thing's for sure, you're making all the fans proud out there, saying, number 3 for Dale. Once again, Mike, you're doing a fantastic job up there. Again, you're getting all the Earnhardt fans riled up. Got 3 fingers in the air, and they're screaming 3 for Dale, my friend. Can you do it? Well, apparently, Mike Dawson wants to do the old Earnhardt move of just kind of stare at you, Tim, and staring doesn't work very well when you're on radio communication.
I'm not sure what you're doing over there with that radio, Tony, but it seems to work half the time. Maybe you want to change the batteries in that thing. So it looks like the number 41. We'll see if we can establish booth-to-car communication with the 41. Rod Lease, it's Tim Terry up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I sure do.
Look good there on the inside line. Going to start in position at number 3. What's the strategy going forward here in the second half?
I'm just going to try to stay out of trouble and probably try to stay on the low side. I think that's the fast side, but really not much passing going on right now. So I'm just going to try to stay out of trouble and stay in the lead pack.
Now, when it comes down to the end of this, who do we see you working with to get you to the front of this field? I know when it comes down to 5 laps to go, there's really no bets. There's really no friends out there, but who do we see you working with at the end?
There's a lot of guys that I've spent a lot of time racing with here, and we'll just pick whoever's available. You know, we'll use one another to get to the front and hopefully pull off a win.
Now, the 2011 season's still young here at Openspeedway. What are the goals for this 2011 year?
Well, I'd like to at least make the chase in the Sprint Cup division, and I've made that 2 years in a row now, and I'd like to make it 3 years in a row and make the chase and have a good season in the Sprint Cup division.
Now, before we let you get back to racing in the Openspeedway 500, it's shout-out time here on OLR TV. Anybody out there you want to say hello to, or any final thoughts before we go green? The mic is all yours.
Just the family, my wife, anybody that's out there watching. Hope we're putting on a good show for you. So, and I want to thank Openspeedway for putting this on. These races are always a lot of fun.
There we go. Rod Lease, driver of the number 41, going to restart in third. We wish all the best.
And that is Rod Lease, your current third-place driver here in the Openspeedway 500, working lap number 92. Lights are out atop the Chevrolet Camaro pace car. And one thing's for sure, Tim, those Camaros are very, very sharp, but Apparently, they don't have anything from a Toyota Camry. Neither does a Ford Mustang, at least today in Phoenix.
Indeed, they do not. Of course, the Toyota brand is the brand of choice the last couple of nights in the Phoenix International Raceway. But right now, up in front, Mike Dawson in the number 3. He has a Chevrolet in front of this field, so we'll see how that stacks out in the next 109 laps.
Again, a long, long way to go, just over 250 miles, right around about close to 275 for that matter. If I really wanted to do the math, it'd be about, what, 270, I think, Tim? 8 laps is 20 miles around this joint?
Something like that. We're well over 250 miles away from the finish of this race. These guys have a long way to go, and there's a lot of cars still in this race. One slip up from any of these drivers could spell disaster for the field. Dawson, Hewitt, Lee, Snyder, and Walton are your top 5. 6th through 10th, you have Strip Matter in the 33, Gibson, Davis, Stoddart, and Goodstein. So as these guys work into corners number 3 and 4, the pace car is going to duck off. We're going to go green flag racing at the completion of lap number 92 in this Openspeedway 500.
And Dawson, as you said, getting ready to lead them down. I don't think he's been out front for a single restart yet here tonight, but nonetheless, they're doing a fine job of at least getting done with the restarts here and trying to get some spots. You see Hewitt try to jump the restart. Not going to work, as it looks like Rod Lease may end up being the man that benefits from that one. He is going to stick it in down on the bottom and ride it right through or right by Ed Hewitt. Rod Lease trying to work his way up to the second spot. He's got help from Guy Snyder there in the 31 machine. And once again, Tim, trying to jump the restart. You can live by it and you can die by it. In this case, Ed Hewitt, he's going to die by it.
And he said in his interview, track position is critical at this point to getting up front and winning this race. Passing, there's not a whole lot of passing going on at this point, especially at the front of this field. But look at Rod Lease. He's going to make the pass with the lead.
With help from Snyder, only 2 cars up top there in that small 8-car breakaway. Not much of a breakaway, but right now they have broken away from the rest of the field. So give the lead to Rod Lease. Whew, that's a tongue twister for you. He goes to the top of the pole, does Rod, and now Dawson going to be left out to dry on the top of the racetrack. Nobody helping him out, but here comes the rest of that pack. He may have a couple of friends up top letting him try to slide by on the top of the racetrack, Tim.
But if I'm Rod Lease right now, I'm not comfortable. Look at Guy Snyder back there in the number 31, a veteran of this 2K3 simulation. They're going to go up high. Are they going to hang Rod Lease out to dry? They're going to hang the top 2. Here comes the 112 at Tim Walton. Down low he goes. We're going to have a new leader on lap 94.
Steve Stripmatter is there as well. We haven't talked a lot about him since the opening stages of this one. He now going to be shown in the second spot as they work off of turn number 4 with Steve Stripmatter. You mentioned that there, Tim Walton leading. Also there is Ed Hewitt once again. Also the 116 of Joe Gibson. We haven't talked about him very much at all here this evening. He is there as well in that identically painted Budweiser machine, just like his 2 teammates, Walton and Hewitt. And for the first time really tonight, Tim, we are beginning to see teammates almost nearly able to line up at the front of the field. Something tells me Stripmatter may end up being hung out here in just a matter of moments.
And now Walton moves up high. That's going to make Stripmatter your new leader. He goes underneath for the lead. But you look up there, those teammates are going to be mighty hard to pass if they are in that formation, let's say with 5 laps to go. Right now, we're 5 laps to go, but that's to the halfway mark in this event.
Certainly a very different mindset halfway to the end of the race. I'm very surprised, Tim, those guys did not jump up there and help their teammate Tim Walton out. He right now leading that second train on the outside by himself with no help from his teammates.
They might be able to hang, but instead of hanging in the lead, they're hanging about 5th place right now, and I'm sure that's not where the 112 of Tim Walton wants to be. We've seen him down low on the low line, right around that yellow line around this racetrack, so I'm sure that's not where he wants to be. Look at Guy Snyder on the outside. We're going 3 wide.
Once again, trying to work the top side is Guy Snyder. We talked to him. He said he's got a pretty good horse And I guess, Tim, if you've got a good horse, you make it work anywhere you possibly can. Snyder, I think, one of the few cars we've seen all night long make that car work wherever it has to make the spots up.
And it seems to work out fairly good at this point. A lot of these guys now on the low line. The high line's pretty much fizzled at this point. Tim Walton all the way back to about 10th place on the high side. Guy Snyder up there as well. And then there's a gap between themselves, and I believe it's Goodstein up there in the number 29. So it seems like the 2x2 formation has fizzled. It's going to be single file for at least your top 7 or 8.
That it will, and this is really the first time, Tim, we have seen single file racing all night long. It's been double file nearly from the outside of the green flag. Even with the restarts, everybody just kind of got back in 2 different distinct drafting formations and ended up running around the speedway that way as long as they could, but they don't stay single file for long. Up front, here go those 2 teammates, Hewitt and Gibson, looking for the lead once again.
1:30 now to the point. It's going to be Gibson back there in second. Now look at the 3 of Mike Dawson. He led on one of our restarts. Now he's back up to position number 3, and he's going to be looking for a front spot. Ed Hewitt now up high. That should put Joe Gibson down low. They go side by side for the lead position, and Joe Gibson going to go from 3rd to 1st in 1 lap.
Certainly easy to do here at Daytona, especially when you've got teammates almost letting you lead the lap, so to speak. At least it seemed that way. He will lead the lap, and he will open the door once again for Mike Dawson. But Dawson, be careful. You've got 2 teammates lined up right in front of you on your outside.
Trying to fend off the charge of the high side and the extreme high side back here about 8th or 9th place. I believe that might be Matt Durr up high in the 92, Guy Snyder. They were trying to make that extreme high side work, but there wasn't enough room to stick those Sprint Cup cars up high, and it looks like the 3 car in front of Dawson might be playing that middle groove. They almost stuck him in the sucker hole.
They thought about it, did the 500 of Smith, and we haven't talked a lot about him. The number 500 machine of Smith certainly doing a fantastic job out there, and that's Dudley. Again, Tim, we haven't talked a lot about him, but here he is inside the top 5, making a bid for the lead. He's got Eric Sisk behind him, pushing him to the front of the field.
And this massive pack, we're going to be talking about guys at the back of this pack coming to the front of this pack, I'm sure, before these next, let's say, 15, 20 laps are over. I know we're going to go green for the next 20 laps for sure. Next time by, though, we're going to see the cross flags. We're going to be halfway home next time by as the high side starting to work. Look at that high side go to the lead once again. It's going to be Joe Gibson on the high side. He's got his teammates behind him. Feeling great in that second groove here at Daytona. He's going to lead the halfway mark unless the number 3 has something to say about it.
Now, if only that car number was numbered 118, he'd be feeling great in the 118, but he's not. But he's still feeling great up front because that's the place to be right now. And as you said, his teammate, Ed Hewitt, right behind him. And Tim, I'm beginning to wonder if maybe they're trying to get hooked up with their 3rd teammate, Tim Walton. He's drifted back to about the 11th spot or so. And that's a pretty good ways back for them maybe to try to wait on him. As you see Steve Stripmatter decided to go out to the bottom line and try to get a run by these top 2 drivers.
Stripmatter wants to take that low line back to the lead. He's got the 3 pushing, but there's a lot of room in between them. Now the 75 pops down low. I believe that's Brad Adams driving that race car. Indeed it is. He's going for 2nd place side by side with Ed Hewitt. What a run by the 75. He might have the lead if he can get a little more drafting help.
A little bit of help. He might have a shot at it. He'll be scored at the line that time in the 3rd spot, but he has got a head of steam beginning to build with help from the number 33 of Stripmatter. Oh, trouble! Big, huge crash. Stevenson is involved. One of those teammates up front blew up. They took out the 112 machine of Walton. He is involved. The 342 of Sisk is involved. Kent Conley is involved in the 088. And somehow, Tim Terry, there were only about 3 or 4 cars involved in that accident.
That's unbelievable. Your 2nd car on the high side was Eddie Hewitt, and he uncorked the motor. And boy, oh boy, there might be a half dozen cars that really have significant damage. Everybody else squeaks through this, and they'll be able to race again in the lead pack. But I tell you what a big wreck for some of these guys. A lot of hard impacts.
Yeah, Matt Durr was involved on the second look, and we'll see here on the replay, he got a huge piece of the wall right off of Guy Snyder. Snyder had nowhere to go, ran him right into the fence. Matt, show us what happened over in turn number 1 when another driver got the OLR TV curse.
Yeah, we talked to him, and he got it. He was just bump drafting a little bit, getting into one, and then he slows up, getting into the corner, and you can see the black smoke coming out of him, and the 67 gets involved, and then his teammate, the 112, you see him spinning around as well, and the 088, well, he's just going on a little adventure up and down, and wasn't sure where to go. Probably just let the wheel go right out of his hands, and looks like the 112's able to pull away, so a couple cars, some close calls back there.
And again, Tim, only have, I think, about 6 cars involved in that one, and only a couple of those with substantial damage. Just an absolute fantastic job by everyone on the racetrack paying attention to what's going on in front of them.
Indeed, there's a lot of close calls in that one as Joe Gibson is out in front, and he was the only one that really didn't need to worry. The only thing he has to worry about now, though, Tony, is he lost his teammate of Ed Hewitt in the back, as it looks like we might see some pit stops here on 103.
As that is the 3rd car, I believe, Tim, to have a motor or some mechanical issue so far here this evening. And it looks like the entire field coming down pit road.